Chapter 1. The House on Close Square. If only she wouldn't struggle so, that damn girl. If only she wouldn't scream, then he wouldn't have had to bind her mouth. If only she would be quiet and calm and biddable, he would never have had to put her in a sack. And if only he had not had to put her in a sack, she could have walked, and he would not have had to put her over his shoulder and carry her to the Jew. Bill Ketch was no brute. Life may have knocked out a few teeth and broken his nose more than once, but it had not yet turned him into an animal. He was man enough to feel bad about what he was doing, and he didn't like the way that the girl moaned so loud and wriggled on his shoulder, drawing attention to herself. Hitting her didn't stop anything. She may have screamed a lot, but she had flint in her eye, something hard and unbreakable, and it was that tough core that had unnerved him and decided him on selling her to the Jew. But that's what the voice in his head told him, the quiet, sly voice that nevertheless was conveniently able to drown out whatever his conscience might try to say. The street was empty, and the fog from the Thames damped the gas lamps into blurs of dull light as he walked past the Seamen's Hostel and turned into Close Square. The flare of a match caught his eye as a big man with a red beard lit a pipe amongst a group standing around a cart stacked with candle boxes outside the Danish church. Thankfully, they didn't seem to notice him as he slunk speedily along the opposite side of the road, heading for the dark house at the bottom of the square, beyond the looming bulk of the sugar refinery, outside which another horse and carriage stood unattended. He was pleased the square was so quiet at this time of night. The last thing he wanted to do was to have to explain why he was carrying such strange cargo, or where he was heading. The shaggy travelling man in the Three Cripples had given him directions, and so he ducked in the front gates, avoiding the main door as he edged round the corner and down a flight of slippery stone steps leading to a side entrance. The dark slit between two houses was lit by a lonely gas globe which fought hard to be seen in murk that was much thicker at this lower end of the square, closer to the Thames. There were two doors. The outer one, made of iron bars like a prison gate, was open and held back against the brick wall. The dark oak inner door was closed and studded with a grid of raised nail-heads that made it look as if it had been hammered shut for good measure. There was a handle marked "Pull" next to it. He did so, but heard no answering jangle of a bell from inside. He tugged again. Once more silence greeted him. He was about to yank it a third time when there was the sound of metal sliding against metal, and a narrow Judas hole opened in the door. Two unblinking eyes looked at him from behind a metal grill, but other than them he could see nothing apart from a dim glow from within. The owner of the eyes said nothing. The only sound was a moaning from the sack on Ketch's shoulder. The eyes moved from Ketch's face to the sack and back. There was a sound of someone sniffing, as if the doorman was smelling him. Ketch cleared his throat. "This is the Jew's house." The eyes continued to say nothing, summing him up in a most uncomfortable way. "Well," swallowed Ketch, "I've got a girl for him, a screaming girl, like what as I've been told he favours." The accompanying smile was intended to ingratiate, but in reality only exposed the stumpy ruins of his teeth. The eyes added this to the very precise total they were evidently calculating, and then abruptly stepped back and slammed the slit shut. The girl flinched at the noise, and Ketch cuffed her, not too hard, and not with any real intent to hurt, just on a reflex. He stared at the blank door. Even though it was now eyeless, it still felt like it was looking back at him, judging. He was confused. Had he been rejected? Was he being sent away? Had he walked all the way here carrying the girl who was not getting any lighter, all for nothing? He felt a familiar anger build in his gut, as if all the cheap gin and sour beer it held were beginning to boil, sending heat flushing across his face. His fist bunched, and he stepped forward to pound on the studded door. He swung angrily, but at the very moment he did so, it opened, and he staggered inward, following the arc of his blow across the threshold, nearly dumping the girl on the floor in front of him. "Why,